Namaste all, Jai Ma. We will begin the session with a small prayer to the Divine Mother. Request everyone to close eyes and feel the Mother's presence deep within. Om Anandamayi Chaitanyamayi Satyamayi Parame. Om Anandamayi Chaitanyamayi Satyamayi Parame. Om Anandamayi Chaitanyamayi Satyamayi Parame. Asato ma Satgamaya Tamaso ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amrutangamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. O Divine Mother, lead us from unreal to the real, lead us from darkness to the light, lead us from mortality to immortality. Om Peace, Peace, Peace. Topic for today is the conquest of depression. In the words of Sri Aurobindo, the cause of depression is this, that there must be some desire or demand within you, whether it is conscious or unconscious, subconscious, that gets excited and revolts against its not being satisfied. So the best way is to be conscious of it, face it calmly and steadily throw it out. So Sri Aurobindo says that we encounter many challenges and have many demands. So if we come to a situation where our demands are not fulfilled, they don't get satisfied, obviously we get certain kind of an excitement and anxiety. So if we don't achieve it, if they are not being satisfied, then it transforms as depression. So to yield to depression when things go wrong is the worst way of meeting the difficulty. So Aurobindo also says that all depression is bad, whatever form it is, all depression is bad as it lowers the consciousness. It also spends the energy, opens to adverse forces. So in the process of evolution and in the gradation of consciousness, if we are making every attempt to enlarge our consciousness from time to time, so in the process, whatever is helpful or an environment to upgrade our levels of consciousness and to expand our consciousness, to expand the realms of our consciousness, we should make every attempt to create such an atmosphere. Otherwise, what happens if we get depressed in the process? If we are not very happy with sometimes the results we should not get depressed. Sri Aurobindo says that all depression, in whatever form it is, all depression is bad as it lowers the consciousness. So we should be very, very careful not to allow such depression to take or any part in it of our being. If the lower vital, not the mind only, could permanently make up its mind that all desire and demand are contrary to the truth and no longer call for them, these things like despair or depression would lose very soon their force of return. So in the process, the purification is very much required from time to time. So let us all move towards a firm basis of calm and equality in the vital. Sri Aurobindo says that the depression and vital struggle must have been due to some defect of over-eagerness and straining for a result in your former effort. So in the process of undertaking any work or doing any work or achieving some goal, we make much effort. If the effort doesn't bear fruit, it doesn't give what we expect, a kind of a result, obviously we tend to feel so much despair or get depression. So in that regard, what we should have a optimistic frame of mind. Whatever is happening is for our good only. ఏది జరిగినా మన మంచికే అంటారా? Because in the scheme of the divine, everything is part of the divinity only. Nothing is outside the divinity. The effort, no effort goes in vain. Sri Aurobindo also says that whatever the effort that you do, no effort goes in vain if the effort is in right direction. It ultimately gives some result. And from time to time we should offer that result to the Lord. Ultimately we should leave everything in the hands of the Lord to mold our personality. Sometimes expectations brings despair. We know each person has his own swabhava, swadharma, nature. They are acting according to their own nature. It's not necessary they should act according to our consciousness or it should be in alignment with our consciousness. So it's always better to think, accept the people as they are. It is said, accept the people as they are. It is their own swabhava and swadharma. When the time comes, obviously the God bestows much benedictions upon them and to mold them. So therefore, if we expect that they should behave in such a way, that brings a certain kind of a disharmony also. So we should also learn to see that, accept the people as they are. Sri Aurobindo also says, the outer being does not care for the sadhana unless it gets something by it which is to it pleasant or gratifying or satisfying. Sthula shariram, sukshma shariram, sthula shariram, we have gross physical body and subtle physical body we have. So this outer being is sthula sharira. It doesn't, Sri Aurobindo says, it does not care for the sadhana unless it gets something by it which is to it pleasant or gratifying or satisfying. So therefore, if this body doesn't get satisfied, the depression therefore comes easy to it. In Sri Aurobindo, the rule in yoga is not to let the depression depress you. To stand back from it, observe its cause, sakshi bhuta antame manamu, by being a witness. To stand back from it, observe its cause and remove the cause, for the cause is always in oneself. Perhaps a vital defect somewhere, a wrong movement indulged, or a petty desire causing a recoil, sometimes by its satisfaction, sometimes by its disappointment. So the cause is always in oneself. Swami Vivekananda also says that you are the creator of your own destiny. So time to time we have to introspect ourselves, that stand back from the situation and deeply think about it, and what is it that it is causing so much depression, and view it in a broader perspective. Probably a wrong movement I have indulged in it, I have to rectify myself. So therefore this kind of an introspection is very much required from time to time, so that we can avoid the depression. What is needed for all of us is to live more deeply within, less in the outer vital and mental part which is exposed to these touches. Sri Aurobindo says always to go deep within. The inmost psychic being is not oppressed by them. It stands in its own closeness to the divine and sees the small surface movements as surface things foreign to the true being. Meaning thereby, we should allow our psychic being to govern our life rather than getting ourselves exposed to the external touches of the vital impulses. As long as we are driven and carried away by the vital impulses, we obviously tend to commit so many mistakes. So in the process of these zigzag things, so there is every likelihood that we get depression. In regard to the role of vital, Sri Aurobindo says, if vital takes the lead, then there is unrest, despondency, unhappiness can always come. Since these things are the very nature of the vital, so our sadhana must aim at bringing the psychic forefront and govern our life. Always, each and every attempt, at every point of time, a constant endeavor has to be made to bring the psychic forefront and govern our life. And automatically all other external movements, everything beautifully gets arranged around that psyche. Then there will be a flowering of the personality. If the psychic were always there in front and takes the lead of our life, the desert with all unhappiness, unrest would be no longer a desert, and the wilderness would blossom with the rose. What a beautiful words and amazing words by Sri Aurobindo. If the psychic were always there in front and takes the lead of our life, the desert with all unhappiness which also includes this depression, despair, everything. This unhappiness, unrest would be no longer a desert, and the wilderness would blossom with the rose. Usually the vital tries to resist the call to change, even if the other parts of the being also willing to change, but the vital, no, whatever you are doing is absolutely right, and it always try to pull us down. So it is at that point of time we should exercise very much caution. That's why the aspiration, rejection and surrender. Reject what is coming in your way in advancing the path of sadhana. Whatever is, causing an obstacle and hindrance while engaging in sadhana, we should go on rejecting it. So usually the vital tries to resist the call to change. That is what is meant by revolt or opposition. If the inner will insists and forbids revolt or opposition, the vital unwillingness may take the form of depression and dejection, accompanied by resistance in the physical mind, which supports the repetition of old habits, old ideas, movements or actions. So we should always think that, instead of thinking that let my will be done, let thy will be done. It is the divine who wants me to do this thing. So let thy will be done. Instead of putting in front of our own will, let us always constantly be in a frame of mind that let thy will be done, but not let my will be done. So it is these things that we must get rid of, but not with sorrowful or despondent mood. As we discussed earlier, that as a Sakshi Bhuta, as a witness, we have to stand back from the feeling of suffering. The moment we step into it, if one adverse force takes part in our being, there are also various others who gets attracted to it. So initially, అందుకనే మొక్కై వంగనది మానై వంగున అని మనకు తెలుగులో ఉంది. When it is a small plant only, we are able to bend it. One, it becomes a very big trunk, we will not be able to mold it. So we have to stand back from the feeling of suffering, anguish and oppression, reject it, and look quietly at the resistance, applying always to ourselves our will to change with divine help. Our willingness also should be there to change, and then call for the divine help. And the divine help is always there, because whenever we feel the divinity within us, even everything, we feel so much joy, peace, light if we get guidance from deep within. In Savitri also we have beautiful lines. His presence make the smallest seem divine. Even the smallest, His presence make the smallest seem divine. The presence of the divinity even makes the smallest seem divine. His absence left the greatest actions dull. Whatever the greatest action that we do, but without there being any intervention of the divinity or element of divinity in it, all goes to waste. So Sri Aurobindo beautifully says that his absence left the greatest actions dull. So mothers and masters' abundant grace and love is always there for all of his and her children. So let us make this platform ready, and always make constant attempt to unite our consciousness with their consciousness. Mother also says that we should not allow this depression, sadness, sorrow, all those to come into your being, because Mother says that always be happy. If you are happy, Mother says that you are closer to the light. And I have also heard somewhere, if we encounter any problem, solve the problem or leave the problem, but do not live with the problem. So we should go on mustering so much strength by constant prayer and constant touch with the Mother, by being open to her force, and it is then that the strength can come to you that will overcome the difficulties. Even if we encounter any difficulties in the process of dispelling this kind of a darkness or a depression, that difficulties are also, we should think that the Mother has provided us for advancing in the Patana, because Mother also says that the difficulties are always opportunities for progress if we know how to handle them. And pain and suffering, we also know that Sri Aurobindo also says in the Savitri, pain is the hand of nature, sculpturing men to greatness, and it is the hammer of the God to break a dead resistance in the mortal's heart. There is so much resistance in our heart. It's our mortal's heart. There is so much resistance, and they are unwilling to change. So it is pain is the hand of the hammer of the God to break a dead resistance in the mortal's heart. Then Sri Aurobindo says that the vital mind is part of the vital, and the mind consists of these things. It is mental mind, vital mind, physical mind, subconscious mind. Four types. Very deep analysis by our Lord. So Sri Aurobindo says that if mind consisting of all above, all these four, mental, vital, physical and subconscious, if all of them do not respond to outer things, depression is impossible. And therefore we should make an endeavor to create a beautiful past and ideal for others with no element of depression at any point of time. So at every point of time, because whatever we are doing today is a present, and it becomes past by tomorrow. So the past has to be in a proper foundation. In Sri Aurobindo says in Savitri, his past lives in him. It drives his future space. His present acts fashion his coming fate. So whatever we are doing at present, it determines our future. So his past lives in him. It drives his future space. His present acts fashion his coming fate. Then in regard to cure of depression, Sri Aurobindo says, even if he simply, by folding hands, the depression will not go away. It helps, because a prayer, a master act, a king idea can link man's strength to a transcendent force, as is said by our Lord. But Sri Aurobindo also says that the prayer alone is not sufficient to dispel the despair or despondency. It works if there is a burning faith at the center, or a complete faith in all the parts of the being. A faith that everything is becoming well. Like all parts, physical, mental, vital, spiritual, psychic being. Faith is the surest guide in the darkest days, as all of us know, Sri Aurobindo says. So Sri Aurobindo clarifies that this faith in the central is very much important. The central faith is a faith in the soul, a faith which is there even when the mind doubts and the vital despairs. So that kind of a firm faith we should have. In fact, with regard to this, I am reminded of one of the tales told by Swami Vivekananda. A pious missionary, a pious man, he went out on some business. In the meantime, his 3 children died of cholera. His wife, without knowing what to do, she covers all the dead bodies of the 3 children in a different sheets. And ultimately, she is in a kind of a dilemma as to what to be told to the husband about the unfortunate and untimely demise of the children. And ultimately, when the husband returns, the wife detains the husband at gate and put him a question. My dear husband, if someone entrusts you something and takes it back in your absence, how do you feel? Do you feel sorry? Then the husband replies, certainly I would not. Then immediately the wife takes him to the inside and opens all the 3 dead bodies of the children who died of a cholera. He bore this very calmly. Such is the strength of mind, because he believes in the system that the God has bestowed benedictions by blessing 3 children, and in the scheme of the God, because the children has that much of age only, and it is written in their fate that they have to die of a cholera, so therefore the God has taken them to their abode. So such kind of a firm faith, a resolute faith in the God. Then Sri Aurobindo says, as if there are always forces around which are concerned to depress and discourage, there are always forces above and around us which we can draw upon. So there are always the forces above our mind, so which we can draw upon. This is also possible, and if we engage ourselves in meditation, because that's why the meditation also helps us a lot to purify ourselves. So to draw those forces into ourselves, to restore, to fill up again with strength and faith and joy and the power that preserves and conquer. So we should also learn that if the society or a life or outside the situation gives, 100 reasons to cry, we should also show back that I have 1,000 reasons to smile. The force from above, Sri Aurobindo says, either passively receive them or actively drawing upon them. So let us open ourselves to the helpful forces from above. To have faith that forces are above and around, and constantly to receive them. And make it as a habit and routine in our daily life. It is a question of habituating our consciousness to get into touch and keep in touch with these helpful forces, because these helpful forces tries to dispel all these adverse forces from time to time. So it is we have to call for that help. They are always there. If there is no will to change and call for any kind of a peace, light and guidance from the Master and the Mother, so then there is no possibility of any kind of a transformation or reformation. And Sri Aurobindo also says, do not allow yourself to admit any moment of vital depression, still less a depressed condition. Sri Aurobindo says it's a very, very difficult animal to handle. This depression, it's a very difficult animal to handle. It has to be dealt with by patience and a quiet and cheerful perseverance. Cheerful perseverance. How beautifully loaded with so much consciousness. Cheerful perseverance. Never get depressed by resistance, for that only makes it sensitive and aggrieved and difficult, or else discouraged. Give it rather the encouragement of sunlight and a quiet pressure, and one day you will find it opening entirely to the divine grace. Slowly, slowly these undergo change. So it's like, giving an example, it's like a small bird of a lotus, a jasmine or a rose bird. If you go on nurturing it with so much love, with so much joy and with so much happiness, by pouring water into it, that small, the jasmine and this lotus, this rose would blossom with so much beauty. So the proper way to deal with a wrong moment is to look quietly at it and put the consciousness right at that point. set it right inwardly is always the best way. I mean, setting it inwardly, that means we should constantly call for that peace, light and guidance from time to time. Because we know, Sri Aurobindo also says in the Savitri, all is too little that the world can give. Whatever, this outside world that is giving, all is too little that the world can give. Its power and knowledge are the gifts of time and cannot fill the spirit's sacred thirst. So spirit's sacred thirst is to divinize the matter. Every attempt we should make to divinize our whole nature. And because the nature, Sri Aurobindo also says, the nature shall live to manifest the secret God. The spirit shall take up the human play. This earthly life becomes the life divine. So this is in fact in these 3 lines, Sri Aurobindo integral yoga is there. Nature shall live to manifest the secret God. The spirit shall take up the human play. The spirit, because the matter shall reveal the spirit's face, we know. So there, this earthly life becomes the life divine. And Bhagavad Gita says this: practice yoga with undespondent heart. So this has got beautiful nexus also everywhere. Allow nothing to disturb you, because these forces, adverse forces, keep coming. Sri Aurobindo says, allow nothing to disturb you, the eternal will manifest. It slowly, one after the other, it removes all layers of unconsciousness. And let us develop peace and silence, calmness. In such state, we can analyze and understand everything in a broader perspective. If we are completely in an anxious or in an agitated mood, normally we don't try to, we don't satisfy with our own efforts, and the results whatever we get will not be so much with accuracy. So Sri Aurobindo says calm, especially when the true spiritual calm of the self is there, is the thing that must always be preserved. With that, everything else can be done in time and with the least trouble. And some people also may think that sorrow is very much necessary for me to go very closer to the divine. Sri Aurobindo says it's hardly a fact that sorrow is necessary in order to make the soul seek the divine. He says it is the call of the soul within for the divine that makes it turn. It is not the sorrow. Now coming to the words of the Divine Mother. Mother says, if you slip into depression, you cut every source of energy. From above, from below, from everywhere. That is the best way of falling into inertia. Tamas. Mother says you must absolutely refuse to be depressed. We should not allow the element of depression to come into our being under any circumstances. Mother says, it's a very interesting angle. Mother says depression is always the sign of an acute egoism. It's a sign of acute egoism. When you feel that it is coming near, tell yourself, I am in a state of egoistic illness. I must cure myself of it. Then someone also asked the one question to the mother. Then how can this depression be controlled? The answer given by the mother is this. It occurs generally in the vital, and one is overpowered by depression only when one keeps the consciousness in the vital, when one remains there. The only thing to do is to get out of vital and enter a deep consciousness. Even the higher mind, the most lofty thoughts, the luminous and higher mind have the power to drive away depression. And mother says there are two causes. Number one, from want of vital satisfaction, because vital cravings, impulses, everything it wants. If I desire something, if I don't get that, obviously I get depressed. This from want of vital satisfaction. Second one is from a considerable nervous fatigue in the body. So for the first one must put psychic reality in contact with depression and it will vanish into thin air. Vital satisfaction edaithe undo, vital impurities. Mother says one must put psychic reality in contact with depression and it will vanish into thin air. Depression will vanish into thin air. With regard to this fatigue in the body, mother says this physical is set right easily. If one feels so much unrest in the body, one must take proper and sufficient rest. So then everything gets stabilized. In one of the books on education and one chapter, The Science of Living, mother says, with the collaboration of the vital, no realization seems impossible, no transformation impracticable. So this vital has to be tamed from time to time, because as long as we are driven by this, sometimes our surface sattvic nature comes up, sometimes rajasic nature comes up, sometimes the tamasic nature. There is one beautiful topic in Essays on the Gita. Sri Aurobindo says that one should be beyond these three gunas. Maybe a difficult task, but by constantly getting ourselves in touch with the mother and the master, we should be able to achieve that status. Traigunya, in Sanskrit it's called as Traigunya Tita. Above this sattvic, rajasic and tamasic nature, one should go beyond that state. And mother says this: chase away depression with a smile. Facing troubles joyously, opposing with invariable cheerfulness the obstacles that beset road to transformation. Because ours is a transformation yoga. So in the process of this journey, we should make every attempt to face everything with so much joy, smile, happiness, cheerfulness. The mother also says that the best means of routing the enemy is to laugh in his face. It disrupts the enemy's front. Even, in day-to-day life, we also confront with many kind of a situation. If we indulge into it, it may be giving so much results at that point of time, but those results are, and happiness is only momentary. And sometimes overcoming desire also gives much more satisfaction than satisfying it. So we should always constantly, take a step inward and think whether whatever I am doing is the right thing, is an introspection that has to be done. And also have a optimistic frame of mind. Whatever is happening is only for my good. In that regard, probably some of you may be knowing a story where a king and a minister, obviously in a kingdom both king and minister are there. The minister always goes on saying to the king, whatever is happening is for your good only, Raja. Anta meek manchi jarugutundi. Everything, whatever the Raja says, the minister says that anta mee manchike jarugutundi. One day I think his this small little finger of the left hand just cuts. Blood goes on. It's a deep cut, and ultimately again minister comes, okay Raja, it is for your good only. What is this way of it is deeply cut and completely removed from my hand, that little finger, and you are saying this, put him behind the bars, the Raja says. So immediately all the Rakshaka Bhatlu, that soldiers, immediately come in and they put the minister behind the bars. This king once goes to the forest with battalion, and in the Raja, in the process of hunting, they miss the battalion and he goes completely in a different direction. And there is a tribal people there, they just catch hold of this king. And they have a own tradition and a system of worshipping their own lord. And in that process, this king has been sent by the Lord only to sacrifice before our Lord. Then they just prepare this king and give him a nice bath and everything and make him ready for this one. And the main priest comes before the king, and he observes the body of this king. See, whenever the sacrifice is made to the Lord, see, everything should be perfect. There cannot be any kind of an imperfection. Then this chief priest sees the king, his finger is cut and he is not at all eligible to be sacrificed before our Lord. And he is immediately released from that unfortunate incident and goes back to the kingdom. And immediately goes and meets the minister. Okay, minister, now I agree that you said whatever is happening is for my good only. I agree that since this has been cut and they simply allowed me to go away from their place, that's okay, fine. But how did this help you? I have put you behind the bars, no? How did it help you? Then the minister says that Raja, obviously wherever the Raja goes, the minister also goes. If the minister had gone along with Raja, obviously wherever the Raja is there, minister is there. So they would have caught the minister and ultimately sacrificed the minister instead of Raja. So since Raja, you have put me behind the bars, I stayed back. So therefore you have saved my life. So that way, that has caused a good to me, since you have put me behind the bars. So that kind of an optimistic frame of mind, everything is happening is for our good only, and everything is moving in a proper and positive direction. We should have that kind of an optimistic frame of mind, that the Lord, the Divine Mother, Master is always with us, enlightening, guiding and protecting from time to time. And that kind of a firm resolution, faith, we should have deep inside. And continuing the talk, the mother says that these are all enemies. Depression, our forces. To smile at enemy is to disarm him. Means smile sincerely. It must be the psychic being which smiles. And to have perseverance, endurance, cheerfulness. These are all we should cultivate into our personality. Purification. And we should also have inner good humor too. Without there being any kind of inner good humor, we may feel, because if we don't have that kind of a humorous approach, we feel so much burden deep inside. Whatever we are reading, it's not our very serious integral sadhana to go to the mountains and where, it's not like that. In day-to-day life we are experiencing and manifesting the divinity in day-to-day life. So therefore there is nothing so much seriousness about Sri Aurobindo's sadhana. Sri Aurobindo makes us to experience the divinity in each and every aspect of our life. So this inner good humor which help us not to get discouraged. Let us all keep all within and progress in sadhana. And Mother also says that remain happy. Try to be happy. Immediately you are closer to the light. And Mother also says that every time one is unhappy, well, it is one more suffering added to the collective suffering of the divine. So if we feel unhappy, we must write beneath it. Why unhappiness comes sometimes? Mother says that the moment you feel unhappiness, Mother says, write beneath it, I am not sincere. Mother says that these sentences go together, both these sentences. What are these sentences are? I feel unhappy, I am not sincere. Keep faith and trust in the divine, as we have already discussed. And sometimes, though the external things or outside things also do not bother or trouble us, we ourselves invite troubles by imagining some things sometimes. So that we should take care of our thoughts also. Swami Vivekananda also says that we are what our thoughts have made us. So Swamiji says, take care of your thoughts. Words are secondary. Thoughts live and they travel so far. So whatever the thoughts that we think, so we should be very, very careful because they make our personality. And I think Champaklalji asked the Mother, in that regard Mother says that always be simple, be happy, remain quiet, do your work as well as you can. It's very simple but very profound meaning. Keep yourself always open towards me. What is more required than this? If we allow ourselves open constantly towards our force, our grace and benedictions always act upon our personality and all our activities from time to time, and it is the leading power and a guidance. Everything blossoms in due course. And Mother says, this is all that is asked from you. I am not asking anything. I repeat, be simple, be happy, remain quiet, do your work as well as you can, keep yourself always open towards me. And there are also beautiful symbols also given by the mother. I mean, this symbol, I think some of you might have seen in some of the books. This mother says, in adoration we seek union with the divine. This is a symbol. Whenever we feel like, we can also sit quietly and fold our hands like this. This is a symbol. In adoration we seek union with the divine. So if we constantly in that frame of mind, everything also blossoms so beautifully. So let us not pay any kind of attention to the depression. Even if a small element, if it comes in initial stages only, we should cut it and reject it. Otherwise, if we go on nurturing it and allow the other thoughts, everything gets accumulated around it and it completely take away. So we should be very, very careful about it. Let us not pay very much attention to the depression and act as if it was not there. And mother says it is the ego that gets depressed. As we have already read, that it is we should also remember that it is a sign of our acute egoism. And it is the ego that gets depressed. Do not mind it. Mother says, do not mind it. Go on quietly with your work and the depression will disappear. And we also know that idle mind is devil's workshop. If we sit quietly and because God is immanent, individual, universal and transcendental. The three poises of the divine. If we are under the influence of the God or divinity at all these levels, then there is no problem. But if we sit quietly and there are always these bad thoughts, any hostile forces, they always keep attacking us. That's why we should be very, very vigilant. And it's always good to be busy. Chala tied up and busy, and it's always, in fact, it's good to be busy. Swami Vivekananda also says that if you are busy, then everything becomes easy. Absolutely right. Absolutely. If everything is easy, then what happens? We become so lazy. That also we should remember. So if you are busy, everything is easy. Everything is easy. So let us always constantly engage ourselves in work for transformation. And in fact, widest possible entry into Sri Aurobindo's sadhana is also through work only. Karma Yoga. Unite everything with the divine. So let us engage constantly in this divine work of transformation and unite, and every attempt, each and every attempt has to be made. It is not for my own Dushta Shikshana, Sista Rakshana. And in the process also we get many difficulties, sometimes despair, sometimes it gives good results, sometimes bad. And that kind of an equilibrium, equanimity, samatha. Sri Aurobindo uses the word equanimity in the mind. Like dukkeshu anudvigna manaha, sukheshu vigata spruhaha, vitaraga bhayakrodaha, stita dhirmuni ruchyate. Sage of a steady mind, a person, it means dukkeshu anudvigna, if the trouble, despair, despondency comes, we should not get depressed. Dukkeshu anudvigna manaha, sukheshu vigata spruha. When the happiness comes, we should not be too much elated. Vitaraga bhayakrodaha, one should be free from this kind of an attachment, fear, anxiety, and attain a kind of equanimity in the mind, a state of samatha. then that person is considered as a steady mind, sthita prajna. Then one question was also put to the mother. Mother, my heart feels arid, sad and gloomy. In that regard, mother gives the answer. Why don't you read something beautiful and interesting and turn your attention away from yourself? Mother again is asking him to introspect. Why don't you read something beautiful and interesting and turn your attention away from yourself? This is the best remedy, mother says. So therefore, whenever we feel any kind of a depression and a kind of a I am going into a kind of inertia or tamas, such kind of a feeling, it's always better to catch a book or listen to any kind of a music, because immediately it changes our consciousness. Because these books also written by the mother and master, if we read, and there is every possibility that their grace is there, so therefore we can unite our consciousness to their consciousness. It gives so much happiness and joy. And mother says that read something very, very interesting and beautiful, and this is the best remedy. Jai Ma.